Word here. We'll go live. Give me just a minute. Maybe I should have gone live before I started recording. Okay. Who's trying to join? Nobody. Okay. Sorry, computer's going a little slow.
That's okay. Are you showing many houses today?
I have 5 lined up to see. So
wow, that's awesome, girl. That is awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully one of them's good. All right.
Yeah.
Military spouse interview. I wonder if it'll tag you. Megan. It will. Maybe. Well, my tagging thing has been really acting wonky lately. And so it's not letting me tag you. Okay, fine. I'll try it. Hopefully I'm spelling your name right. And I'll come back and add your details to this post later too.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, I think a couple seconds we'll go live.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, if this makes me do everything over again, I'm going to be very annoyed with it.
It said you're live on my end. I got a little notification.
Yeah, let me just, here we go. Yep. Okay, I see it now.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, I think we're live. All right. Yeah, and I like to pull it up in case anybody asks questions or anything that I can answer. So let's make sure we're there. There we are. Okay, I think we're good to go. All right. Hey, everybody. We are here with Megan. Megan, say your last name for me in case I butcher it.
It's Forslund.
Okay, I was really close. And she with Siren Stitching, right? Long arm quilting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just talking about her business and what she does and what her experience is as being a military spouse who owns a business. So Megan, just tell us a little bit about yourself to start off with.
Well, I'm from Baltimore originally, and you know, I've always liked making things. I sewed a quilt for my mom. I can't remember how old I was. I think I was in high school, and it was horrible. I think she kept it on her bed for like a week before she trashed it, just so I didn't feel so bad about myself. But yeah, and I met my husband. We met in college, and you know, he's been dragging me around for 16 years. So, nice. I mean, if you see me, I'm that really tall girl on post. I'm 6'4", so I guess that
Oh.
makes me kind of different. Yeah, yeah, I'm tall. So, um, other than that, I'm a homebody. I'm a mom. I love cats, and I just really like to make stuff.
Awesome.
As is my room, but I mean, it's just full of like fabric and all that fun crafty stuff.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have?
Just one,
Just
a
one?
girl.
Okay,
She's 8.
cool. Does she sew?
She wants to.
Wants to.
She's been bugging me. Yeah, she's been bugging me. So, yeah, she does pretty good, but I'm not gonna, with the rotary cutter. I think I'm trying to put her off until 10. So
Sure.
it seems 10 seems like a good age for most kids to learn to sew. So I'm kind of been putting her off.
Yeah, that makes sense. So your first quilt was the one you made in high school for your mom. Was that your first one?
It was, yeah.
Okay. And you've been a military spouse for 16 years, you said?
I have, yep.
So did you just keep going after that one in high school? Like you made it and you were like, this was fun. So you just tried again, or did you wait a while?
No, no. So I kind of it's funny because when I made that one, I didn't really sew too much after that. And then let's see, that was probably before my daughter was born in 2010. My husband just out of the blue bought me a sewing machine,
Okay.
and it was just like a little basic brother.
Mhm.
And I made like little zip pouches, and just, I mean, I was working full time, so I really didn't have a lot of time to sew. You get home at the end of the day and you're just like exhausted. So I didn't really do much there. It really didn't pick up for me until after I had my daughter and we moved, and I couldn't find a job. And it was one of the most just depressing things. I mean, many people have been there where you and you can't find a job, and it's not a good feeling, to
Sorry.
not find like something where you feel like you're gainfully employed.
Yeah,
And so I was a stay-at-home mom, but I didn't really do too well with that.
sure.
So I started sewing, and I made one thing, you post to Facebook, people are like, that is so cute, I want one. And so it just kind of went from there, and it's like, well, hey, I could at least make a little money doing this. And so that's how I got started. I started sewing plush toys and dolls
Oh,
and
nice.
fairs, Etsy, the whole shebang. It just kind of
Wow.
went.
Yeah. Yeah. Why so I haven't in a while, but I have. And I think plush toys and dolls are hard. Like that's one of the harder things to do. So you kind of sounds like you dove in with not the simplest projects then.
Yeah, I tend to not pick easy things. It's like, oh, is this the hardest way to go about it? Yeah, I'll do that. That
I do
sounds
that
pretty
too. Like,
good.
yeah, I skip. Oh, that beginner thing looks boring. Let's go for the advanced. I'll figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, really, when it comes to sewing, and I've said this, I've taught people. The most recent um, pupil of mine, I guess, if you will, is my neighbor, and she wanted to learn to make a quilt, and she had never really sewn much before.
Hmm.
And so we made a couple zip pouches, and because if you can put a zipper in something, then you can sew anything, and that's the
Yeah.
truth. So I told her, if you can put a zipper in this and it works, then you're good to go. And so she's been quilting for a year, and I want to say she's got almost 20 quilts.
Wow.
And she just totally just took off, but she kept at it and she kept practicing, and you can't be too hard on yourself. And it's
Right.
just sewing is, and I've told people at craft fairs, because they come and they see my work and they're like, oh, this is so amazing, I could never do this. And I'm like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
you know, I've been sewing for, full time for 8 years. So you can't, if you're going to start out, you can't look at my work. I'm 8 years ahead of you,
Right.
unless you've been sewing for 8 years, and then I'm gonna be looking at your work. It's like, oh, it's so amazing, you
Right.
know.
And 8 years
So
full time. So not the same as 8 years as a hobby. If you're working full time and you're doing, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's still not the same progress.
it's true.
That
Yeah,
the
I mean, I,
hobby-
I sew I sew every day, at least for
Right.
an hour.
Right.
If I could sew all day, I would, but I gotta like clean and feed
Yeah.
my child and all
Oh
that other
yeah,
stuff.
all that stuff. Okay, well, before we go much further into your business and the details of it, I am sure. So it's long arm quilting. I'm sure there's people going, "What in the?" I know what that means, but I'm sure there's others going, "What in the world does
Yeah.
that mean?" So could you explain that?
Sure. So if you can see over my shoulder, that is a long arm quilting machine. And when you look at a quilt, it's basically the decorative stitching that holds the quilt layers together. So what I do, and this is actually after my debacle of my mom's quilt, this is, and I haven't even finished this. Isn't this horrible? This quilt is a 10 years old, but this is a quilt top,
Right.
and it's just the top. So it's been pieced. So here's the back. You don't ever show anybody your quilt back. It's like being naked, okay? So that's the back. And so this is what I receive from my customers is a pieced quilt top.
Hmm.
And I have batting, which is that fluffy warm layer in the middle. And then your backing fabric is just cotton fabric that makes it nice on the back. And what I do as a business is I put all those layers together on my long arm quilting machine and I stitch all over a decorative pattern. And it's computer driven.
Okay.
So it makes it nice because it's very precise.
Hmm.
And the number of patterns that I can stitch, I mean, pretty much the sky's the limit. So, I mean, the last quilt I did, if you follow me on Instagram, I quilted for my friend Christy, and I quilted cotton blossoms on a farm, like a farm quilt, you know? So really I can pretty much stitch anything as long as there's a pattern for it. So
Yeah.
that's what I do because domestic machines, if you have like a really big quilt, basting all these layers together, like sticking them together and sending it through your machine, I mean, a lot of people just don't want to fool with that. So that's why they hire me to
Right.
complete it.
Right. Right. So what it does is it allows people to quilt without having to have the machine to do all of the, you can do the piecing, you just don't have the machine to do the stitching. So as somebody who has a couple of regular sewing machines, I can't do what you're talking about, and I'm telling everybody else, obviously.
Yeah.
I can't do what Megan does on my sewing machine because there's not room in between the base of the sewing machine and the needle to bunch all that quilt stuff up into. My machine would be able to go through all the layers because I have a pretty good machine that can do that, but it won't, there's no room. It can't handle the quilt, whereas hers has it looks like it like folds over, right? And it kind of rolls it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I
So,
stretch your quilt, I have the whole quilt stretched out. Now here's the thing. I mean, you can quilt on a domestic machine. I mean, there's a ways to roll the quilt, and if
right.
you start in the center, and as long as you do a good job of basting it, so you lay it on the floor, and if you're pinning it, or I've even used Elmer's school glue, which I promise it will wash out, and you just lightly glue. You lightly glue it works really good.
Interesting.
You lightly glue your layers down, but you are going to be wrestling. I mean, depending if
Yeah,
it's just
it's
a
fun.
baby quilt, those are pretty easy. But
Right.
if you want to do like a bed size quilt or like a large throw, I'm talking like a 60 by 72-inch quilt, which is
Right.
a good size.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say, oh,
No, you
this is
can
the
do
only
it.
way to get your quilt quilted, but
Sure.
yeah.
Well, and you can do like my granny did and stretch it out on a big quilt
Yes.
stretcher, and you can hand stitch it, or you can get a big hoop
Yeah.
and hand stitch. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
what our grandmas did and do. So that's an option as well. But if somebody out there is wanting to learn to make the tops and piecing it together, but doesn't want to take the leap into putting the layers together and doing the quilting stitches, that's what Megan is there for.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Okay,
And
so thank you for explaining that.
yeah,
Um,
you're welcome.
so and you said you've been doing this for 8 years. You said full time. Is it like as an actual business?
Well, okay, so it's weird. So I have not been quilting for 8 years. I've been quilting for 2.
Oh, okay.
And I've been a long arm quilter for just under a year in September. And let me tell you, when I fell into this, I fell hard. And for anybody out there who has a handmade business, you're constantly evolving, and you should be with your craft or your art. You're going to start, and you're going to progressively get better, of course, as you do it. And then you're going to find things that either work or don't work, because obviously if things aren't selling, it takes a lot of time to make things, so you don't want to keep putting your time and your raw materials into something that's not selling unless you're super passionate about it and you're doing it for you. But if you really want to make money, you got to be doing something that you like and to make money. That's how I feel.
Absolutely.
So when I was making the dolls and stuff, I mean, I did fairly well. And then I added dresses. And if anybody saw me, I would sell my dresses at the PX, which I will give a plug for the PX anywhere. It's a really good way to get your name out there. And if anybody has any questions about selling at the PX, you can PM me. I'll be very honest with
That's great.
my, oh yeah. And I mean,
That's great. Yeah.
they don't charge you anything to set up. And this is like a side
Go
thing, but
for it.
it would be so cool to have the PX, all those kiosks in the
Yeah.
PX just filled with handmade Millspouse vendors. So
Absolutely.
I just think that would be so cool. So, so if anybody wants, to start selling in the PX, I can give you the person who does it. It's not difficult. They charge you a percentage of your sales. That's it.
Okay.
I
I think that's great because I've seen them, and I've done crafts for craft shows and things like that before. I don't have time for that right now, but it's something I enjoy doing and have done. And as somebody who does that kind of thing, and I'm just entrepreneurial minded, so I'm always like, oh, that could be a business. I don't have time
Yeah.
for all these ideas I come up with, but
Yeah.
but anyway, I see the kiosks and the PX, and I've always kind of wondered, like, I don't, I never knew how to go about it or what it entailed, or, you imagine it's really expensive or whatever. So I think it's great for our spouses to have a resource to
Yeah.
pursue that. And so I appreciate you saying people can PM me for that. So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. If you're just starting out and you want to get your name out there, you pretty much have to put yourself out in front of people.
Yeah.
I mean, and with your work, and so they can see it and all of that, and it was really good for me. But back to how long I've been quilting, it's kind of like my journey. You just kind of, I don't know. It has been a journey. And
Yeah.
when I picked up quilting again, because after my failure with my mom's quilt, and then even with this one,
Sure.
I didn't really enjoy it. And I would tell people, I don't know how people quilt. They're insane. They take big pieces of fabric and they make little tiny squares and they sew them back together. To me, that's like insane. And so, I don't really know what made me pick it up again, but I did, and I just fell into it. And then I bought a long arm, and I'm like, well, there's a need for that for long arm quilters, and so I'm just going with it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's what I was going to ask next is how did you go from sewing other things into that, but you already explained. So nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How many different places you did other sewing? I'm trying to look at my questions and we've already answered a lot of them, but you've just started with the quilting, but you've done other sewing at other duty stations. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You've had your Etsy and craft shows and stuff.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many different posts would you say you've been in a crafting business at?
4.
Like 4 different installations. So how's that been? Like tell us about the benefits and the struggles of being a military spouse, running their own business, and moving from post to post. What have you experienced?
Yeah. Well, one, if you're a serious, well, for me, sewing, I do have a fabric hoarding problem, and I fully admit that. So I got to kind of watch it because fabric weighs a lot, and you don't want to go over your weight. So that's the number one thing. You really got to watch it. 2, I have, I have my long arm. I have an industrial sewing machine. I have a serger, a cover stitch. I mean, I have a lot of machines, and so I've got to be really careful with how they get moved. And I'm kind of like, please don't break my babies because I will cry. A lot of things I have to move myself. So that's something I have to think about. But as far as when we get there, the internet is an amazing resource, as we all know. And so if you can connect with other makers, there's usually a Facebook group for other makers where you can find out about craft shows. Now, here I know, like in Manhattan, you have the Eclectic Charm, which is people rent space to sell their goods. Okay, so that's a really good place to start when you move to a new duty station. If there's an artisan boutique or like a handmade boutique, go there, talk to those people. They will know all the craft shows. They will know. I mean, that's their world. They will know. And most people, most makers, most creative people will help you, and they will be very free with that information. So don't be afraid to go in there and ask. don't be afraid to rent a booth space in a, now a flea market, it depends. I've done a flea market. I didn't do very well there. It's a just different market, and you really
Yeah.
do. That's another thing. You really do have to know your market.
Mhm.
If you're selling, like, I don't know. Well, for me, I mean, my stuff can be pretty versatile, but like for baby things and stuff,
Mhm.
it's not going to go into a store where there's predominantly like adult
Right, right.
things, So, but I mean, whenever I go to a new place, I visit the local quilt shop,
Mhm.
and they will know too. They know all the businesses in their town,
Yeah.
and you get in good with them. You can, if you patron the store and you buy, especially fabric, if you were to buy from them, you can be like, hey, can I leave some of my business cards with you?
Yeah.
I'm a maker. Some people come in there. I mean, just the quilters yard in Junction City, soldiers go in there looking to get their patches sewn on,
Okay.
because they're looking to support local people, small
Yeah.
business, local people, um,
Yeah.
where else? Well,
Yarn
if you're
stores are
looking,
the same. So you're in quilting, but as far as just makers in general go, yarn stores are very much the same with that relationship.
oh yeah,
They'll share
oh yeah,
events and all that stuff too. So that's another um, good
yeah.
resource. Yeah.
And with on military installations, you can always the PX, so you can ask the PX who their concessionaire,
Uh-huh.
who's in charge of the kiosk, the concessionaire program. So definitely go to the PX if you're looking to sell. What's the other place? MWR, most posts, the MWR will have some, like here we have the Chris Kindle Market and Apple Days, and you can be a
Right.
vendor there. That's
Right.
all run through MWR. So if you contact them,
Okay.
then they can put you in. So it's like if you wanted a booth space,
Hmm.
and just even the town, every town has a chamber of commerce, so you could go there too and ask about becoming a member or just finding out what's going on,
Yeah.
because most people, they're hungry for vendors, and they're hungry for handmade people. They really are.
Yeah.
And so, but they're not going to come to you. You have to go to them,
Right.
so
Right. Yeah, I know at our last duty station, the Spouses Club also put on several craft fairs. So that would
yes,
be another
yep.
good one to ask if that's something they sponsor. And if there's a craft store or a craft, like some, I don't know, Fort Riley has something on, I'm not um, on post as much as I maybe like to be, but there's some sort of craft studio or something over there, right? I know we've
I'm
had it at other places.
I'm not sure. I would have to look that up. I know when we were at Bragg, they had a really big, it was buy and Bragg gifts. I don't even know if it's still there. That was like forever ago when we were
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
But I think that they do. And that would, if you make Army specific or like Big Red One specific things,
Yeah.
then like I'm actually well, we're getting ready to leave, and so I was trying to in secret work on like a Big Red One quote for my husband,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and so I just need to get it done. And then I'm like, well, I've already figured out everything. I can just like write a pattern, and it's super easy. It's just sewing squares together. So
Yeah.
it's
You
pretty
should.
beginner friendly if anybody else would want
Great.
to try their hand at it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So just checking into all those different places. So you haven't, I mean, moving hasn't been a terrible disruption necessarily for you other than the logistics of safely getting your stuff from point A to point B.
It's true. And the thing is, so if you take any type of custom orders,
Hmm.
you really do communicate with your customers. So I've already told my customers, June 8th is the last day then I can accept quilts, because I'm going to take my long arm apart by myself. And so I'm going to need a couple days to do that.
Sure.
And then just keeping your customers updated as you're moving, when do you expect like to be up and running?
Right.
Because obviously, finding a house and moving in and getting your family settled is your first
Uh-huh.
priority. And they do understand that. I have people
Sure.
saying, well, I'll wait for you to get settled. Let me know when you're settled. One thing that I'm going to do on my website, I'm going to create a Google Doc, and well, I have one for long arm quilting requests, so you can request services for me. I'm
Okay.
going to take that down and replace it with to be put on a wait list, and it's going to
Right.
be like, hey, we're moving.
Right.
If you want to be notified when I'm back up and running, and then that way they they won't have that my customer won't have to remember. I will do it. They
Yeah.
can say, I'll just leave my information. I'll put my quilt top in a closet, and Megan will let me know when she's ready, and then I can send out an email like, hey, send me your top. And
Great. Yeah.
You know?
So let's talk about that real quick. So Megan did let me know, like, I don't know, last week, I think that they did get orders to PCS. They're here at
Mhm.
Fort Riley right now. And I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and talk anyway. She's still here. They're still part of the Fort Riley family.
Yep.
You know, once at a post, there's always a little piece of you there and vice versa. Um, and so, but she's going to be accepting, she does and will continue to accept orders by mail. You can mail back and forth. So I think it's still important. And this is just part of our life as military families. So I'm not going to say, oh, if you're moving in the next
Mhm.
6 months, you don't get to be part of this program or part of this, you know, interview series or anything, because we're all, I mean, most of us are going to move at some point, and some of us may have just moved here. Or there may be, you know, there's people that will be coming in. So this is just part of military life. And that's why it's important for us as military families to support one another. So yes, Megan will be leaving. However, she still will be serving Fort Riley area families by mail with her quilting services. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So as you said, you'll have a document if anybody's out there thinking, oh, I have this quilt top that's been sitting in my closet for whatever because I haven't known how to put it together, had the ability to do
Mhm.
that. She's still available, but you'll go maybe in a week or so when she's got it ready, go to her website and fill out that Google Doc, and she can let you know when she's ready for that.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
let's see. Great. So what you've already given a lot of advice to businesses or spouses owning businesses. Is there anything else? What would you tell a spouse just thinking about? Like they don't have a business yet, but they're thinking about something that maybe they could do to turn into a business to fit better with the military lifestyle and moving and all of that. What would your advice to them be?
Well, if you're not sure what you want to do, pick something that you love. Because the one thing that happens, especially, well, if you're going to take custom orders, and that's something else you have to decide, am I just going to make and have inventory on hand, or am I going to just going to strictly do customs? You really need to love what you do, and I think that goes for a lot of things, because if you get up every day and you drive into work and you really hate it, you know, your quality of life is just not going to be very good. But when you make things, you know, every little thing that I touch, like, that's a piece of me that goes. And so if I really didn't love it, I mean, I would be like a husk, I guess, you know. So
Yeah.
pick something that you love, something that you're passionate about, um, because if you're doing it as a business, you want to be professional. So you want to know all there is to know about it and perfect your craft, perfect your art.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, you know, and I think maybe for women in general, and I can't speak for all women, but certainly for myself, saying no is like really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a simple word, it's only 2 letters, but it is so hard to say no. And when you're talking about a business, people are like, I can't believe you would tell people to say no, but you really do need to learn how to say no. Okay. And then there's a couple reasons for that. Um, if you're taking custom orders, you have so much you can't keep up. Okay, it's a good problem. You need to learn to tell your customers, like, hey, I'm gonna time out. I'm gonna cut off my custom orders. I'm not really not saying totally no, but I'm just saying I need to cut off my customs. I'm gonna work on what I have, and then I'll open them back up. And then that would actually be a good time to bust out your wait list.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can have them get on the wait list, and it's all very fair. So saying no. The other thing is, if you're gonna make and sell handmade goods, okay, you need, how can I put this? If you already have thick skin, then you're going to be good. But when you, like I said, when I make something, there's a piece of me in everything. And so prepare yourself to hear the criticism of others, especially if you do craft shows. Okay. People, now I'm tall, so I've heard everything my whole life about being different. People talk about me. They don't think that I can't hear them. I mean,
Gosh.
it just rolls off my back. I really don't care. Okay. I mean, I know I'm like, when I walk around, people are like, oh my gosh, that's the biggest woman I've ever seen. I mean, I totally get it. But when you're talking about your work and something that you put this much time in, and if people have something not so nice to say about it, you really do have to learn to just let it go. Okay. Don't let it discourage you. Don't let it get you upset. If anything, let it fire you up to keep keep making, keep getting better. People are going to have things to say about your prices, just almost everything in general. And then you're going to have the people that are just like, this is awesome. I can't believe I found you. Thank you for making this. This is amazing. So prepare yourself for that, especially if you sell in person. Now online, you know, you're really not going to get that type of feedback. But if you do go in person, you're going to just hear all types of stuff. Okay. So
Right.
you really do have to thicken up. And the other thing is too, and again, this is more like for custom orders, but you know, you stay true to your style. Like a lot of people will see something on the internet and they'll be like, can you make this exactly? And my thing is, well, if you want it exactly that way, then you should patron the artist who
Sure.
originally did this. Okay.
Right.
And that's just from one artist to another, you know, that's their work.
Sure.
I can do something similar. This is my style. This is how I do it.
Right.
And if you have examples of your work, pictures are a good thing. Then you can have that posted and people can see your style. It's like, well, this is how I do it.
Yeah.
And you know, this is my girl.
Hey. Yeah. Well, that's why, and not to throw back to last week, but well, I mean, I am with Lacey, and I asked her to make signs, and I just want to go through something local, and also because I knew that if I needed a new sign or wanted to do something different, I wouldn't have to wait to order and wait for mail and all that. But she was like, can I tweak it a bit? And I'm like, you're the like you, yeah, absolutely. This is the concept. Go with it. You're the creative. I mean, I'm a creative, but like I'm hiring you to do this. This is your creativity that you're putting into this. So I'm not gonna micromanage, you know, you into that. You do what, you know, you let your style into it for sure. Because because if you're asking somebody to do something that's not in their style, it's not going to be as good.
It's true. And for yourself, could you just imagine being the maker,
right,
constantly making things that weren't really you? And I know for me, you know, I want to feel good about the things that I put out there. And I know if it's done the way that I feel comfortable doing it, and I will tell people. And I think a lot of times, and this could fix a lot of the world's problems if we would just communicate, but if you communicate with your buyer, and you really do. When I was taking customs, I would make dolls. I wish I had one to show you. My daughter has like almost all of the ones that I didn't sell. But yeah, her stuffed animal toy thing is out of control. But when I would make dolls and people would request fabric combinations, I would take a photo of the fabrics together. I also offered custom embroidery, so I could put a name on there or a phrase or what have you on the little tummy area of the doll. And I would send an embroidery proof so they could kind of see what they were going to get, how all the letters look together, how the fabrics played together. And it just eliminates a lot of confusion, or you already make it and then they hate it. That was always my fear. It's like, I'm going to make this thing, I'm going to put a name on it, and you know, I'm either going to pick it apart or I have to find another Amber to sell it to. I mean, like, you know, so just really communicating. Now, you don't want to send like 100 messages, because then you're going to spend all of your time messaging with customers and not working and making money. So whittling down your process, especially for customs. And it's the same thing with when I quilt. You know, I have all my pantographs, which is the pattern that I quilt, on my website. And then I also, as I put them on a quilt, I'm trying to put the photo of the quilt with that design, so you can kind of see what it looks like when it's stitched out onto something, because it does change it a little bit.
Right. And what you're saying now goes into with the saying no a little bit, because yes, you need to be in good communication. You want to make sure they're happy with, and you're understanding what their vision is, and you're getting as close to that as you can. But at the same time, you don't want to offer so many options that you're going back and forth for hours and hours, and they're because people, and it's nothing against people, all of us, me, you, everybody, too many choices will never get anywhere. We'll never choose one. So we have to have like, okay, here is what I can do. And, you know, and then choose one of those. And it, like you said, a streamlined process is better for everyone, including the customer, because too many, it being too wide open, like you said, you'll go back and forth for hours and not get any work done.
Yeah, and you'll have customers who they say, you know what, this is just what I want. I don't care how you do it, just do it. I'll love it no matter what. And then you have other customers who do appreciate being able to pick every last thing.
Right.
And so, you know, the more you do it, the more you can recognize the two different types of customers. And I don't know, it just kind of happens. And I've never, hopefully, I mean, no one's ever said anything to my face or an online review. So
Right.
I would say customers have been happy. And if you haven't, then message me and tell me, because I want to be better.
Yeah. And that's well, and let me throw in here, we've just got a few more minutes. I think, we're coming towards wrap up, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to, and I'm not rushing it, I just feel like, we've
Oh yeah.
kind of covered everything, but if you have any questions, comment on this video on Facebook, and if you're here live, and Megan will be happy to answer. I'm watching it on my phone so I can see if anybody comments. If you don't get your comment in before we wrap up the video, still comment. We'll come back and answer it later. But if you'd like us to answer it here, go ahead and throw that comment in now so that we can see it and get that answered. But that's what I was gonna say too, especially with makers, but really any business owner. Reviews are great, and honestly, if your review is honestly bad, then it's honestly bad. I mean, if any of us as business owners have earned a bad review, then we earned a bad review. However, most of us, 99% of business owners, want to make the customers happy, and we want to do the right thing. And we're human, so we mess up just like everybody else. We make mistakes, we forget things. I mean, we try our hardest not to. I would say, again, 99% of us, but we do. And so honestly, most of the time, if you're dealing with any business owner, not me or Megan, but any business owner, and we've messed up, the business owner's messed up, we've made a mistake, something wasn't the way you expected or whatever, the first step really is messaging the business owner and letting them know what did not meet your expectations and why, and giving them the opportunity to make it right. Because again, most of us want to do the right thing. Most of us want happy customers. Now there's gonna come situations where maybe both people are good people and they just can't agree, or they're just, one person's expectations was just not what the other person does. But most of the time, a solution can be found, a mutually beneficial solution, a win for everybody can be found, and that's most business owners. That's our goal, is for everybody to win, however that looks like. So, I would just ask that as customers, you give the business owner the opportunity to improve whatever you're not happy with, if you're not happy with something as a customer, before you write the review. And then again, and so I just thought of it because you said, if nobody said they weren't happy, but if they are, message me. And then also, don't just sit, even if you're not going to write a review, don't just sit and stew in it and like, oh, I wanted this and that. And talk to the business owner, especially a maker. Maybe try to talk to them kindly, because they have put their heart and soul into that, little pieces of themselves into that. But let people know and give people the opportunity to make good on whatever isn't up to your expectations, if possible. I would say.
And I'll say, oh yeah, and I'll say, for anybody out there who is considering, or who maybe is already in business, you really do need to have, I mean, a business plan. And it doesn't have to be anything. I mean, you write it down on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be this big formal thing. But one of the things in your business plan you should really need to think about: how am I going to handle unhappy customers? Okay, because it's not a very pleasant thing to think about, but you do need to think about. You need to have a return policy, a refund policy. I mean, all of that. So because when that review comes in, it's like a truck coming 50 miles an hour and you're in the street. Okay, it's going to just slam into you. You're not expecting it. And it can be kind of emotional, because you know, you put yourself into there. So if it's already been thought about before, when you're sitting there and it's nice, and then you can go back to that and say, okay, you know, these are the things I can offer you. I can give you a percentage off. I can redo it, you know, whatever. But you really should have a policy in place for, you know, definitely for that. And just understand that your business plan, to include your refund, cancellation policy, whatever you want to call it, is ever changing. So the first time that you have a cancellation or a refund, you might be like, that didn't really go so good, so maybe I need to like revisit it or change it. And so it's changing as you go through your business life and your experiences and, you know, all that fun stuff. So
and have it in writing. Yeah, have it on your Facebook page and on your website in writing.
Yes.
Point people to it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we can't, as makers, and again, I've been there, I'm not doing that actively now, but we can't always refund everything. We have put a lot of time and a lot of, I mean, materials expensive. And if
Yeah.
it's a doll that says Amber, I mean, you can't, like you were saying earlier, you can't just resell that to somebody. Like, okay, well now, I've put X amount into the materials for this doll that I can't, it's not always possible, but if you have that written policy, um, you can point back to that and offer what you can offer. And, sincerely, I'm sorry you're disappointed, but here's my policy, what can we do within this? So that having a written policy protects everybody, and that's a great idea.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
I agree. So let's see, you are getting ready to move. So you're kind of on hold at the moment, is that correct? Or about to go on hold for
I
orders?
am.
Okay. So tell people, if they're interested in your services, what would they need to do to, I guess, get on your waiting list? Just what you said, there's going to be a Google Doc up on the website in a few days.
Yeah, so I have a website. It's sirenstitching.com. And I love mermaids. That's why I chose Siren. And then mermaid stitching didn't sound as good as siren stitching.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose that. But yeah, sirenstitching.com is my website. And if you just go to, I have a long arm, just go to long arm quilting services, and then there's a drop down, and I have that's where my form is. You can see all my work, my pantos, request services there. If you're local, you can drop off on my porch. The whole COVID-19, I'm totally cool with you just leaving it on my porch and saying, hey, Megan, it's there. And if you want to pick up the same way, my neighborhood is very quiet. It's safe, so no one's going to steal your quilt off my porch. But, and I'm an introvert. I'm a homebody. I don't ever go anywhere. So,
You're in Junction City, right?
What's that?
You're in Junction City? You're in?
Yeah, in Junction, in the Spring Valley area. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Great. And you have a Facebook page also called Siren Stitching. I will come back. I'm actually about to run. I have to go brave Manhattan construction traffic for any of you who've driven through here lately. Oh my gosh. It's horrible. I keep forgetting to give myself like an extra 20 minutes to get everywhere because you just, it's awful.
Yeah.
But, lost my train of thought. But I will come back this afternoon and I will put all Megan's links in the description of this video. Megan, feel free to stick any other links. Oh, I was going to ask you one more thing though, and I don't have any questions yet. So if anybody wants again to come back and ask questions, we'll come back and check the thread and answer it. So feel free to do that. I was going to ask you, you mentioned for people who are doing creative businesses, that Facebook, there's usually a makers Facebook group for the area. Is there one for our area?
We do. Well, we have a really small community. It's Fort Riley sewing,
Okay.
Sewing and crafts page, and there are makers on there. It's not very active just because there's not, I don't think there's a lot of people, but people will post what they make. People will post what they sell. That's the only one that I'm a part of here.
Okay. Could you come back later and like post a comment with that link in it to that group? Yeah, that'd be great for anybody interested. So that's not just for makers exclusively. That's for people who are looking to buy stuff as well. Then it sounds like it's for.
Yes, some people will post what they've completed, and then you can kind of find them that way. And if you are a maker and you're looking to get on there, post your stuff, because I love to buy from other makers, from other people who make things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool. So it's anybody. If you want to buy, if you want to sell, join the page. If you just want to swap ideas, okay, cool. So Megan will post that link to that group later on, and we can check that out if you're interested. Okay, anything else you wanted to share with us as we wrap up?
Thanks for doing this. It was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good to kind of get to know you and see your face. And you gave lots of great information, I think really, really helpful for anybody thinking of getting into this kind of business. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. And as I said in the beginning, you feel free to PM me. I'm not creepy. I don't, I won't be angry. I'm all about sharing. So if I can help, then I will. So I mean, even if I mean, I'm not a sewing instructor, but if you even have any just general sewing questions, I'd be happy to, because sewing is becoming a lost art and I would really like to see it come back. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And that's definitely the feel of our pay it forward. So I appreciate you being willing to pay it forward to everybody else and
yes,
help others. So thanks.
you're welcome.
Awesome. Well, I will let you go. Have a great day. I appreciate
All
you
right.
joining me, and this was fun.
All right, girl. Sell those houses.
Thanks. I hope so. Bye.
All right, bye.